We are well aware of the glass ceiling at work, but if you also have a class ceiling, you may be hurting your own organization. I'm Dr. Anna Kalshma. I'm an industrial organizational psychologist, and I research the unwritten rules of work for people from low-income backgrounds. And in this video, I'm going to take you through this Forbes article that talks about why class diversity matters at work. So I'm the first IO psychologist to look at the experiences of people who move from a lower income background to a middle class or higher background and how that influences their work experience. This Forbes article talks about a study that I cited in my dissertation on the unwritten rules of work that says people who transition between classes can learn to relate to people in a more skilled way, and they are incredibly helpful in groups as they can understand people from all walks in life. However, it can also be an exhausting and even isolating experience for that person. Y'all find that shocking, don't you? And guess what? People who have moved up the social ladder also notice there's a different set of rules that they didn't really understand or were not prepared for. Just as being placed in a foreign country forces us to reassess our norms and values, the authors argue that being placed outside of our cultural comfort zone can prompt similar periods of adjustment. I have said many times, we prepare expats to go to other countries, but we do not prepare people from different classes to enter a different work culture. It points out that people who move classes also learn new cultural skills. This is referred in sociology as cultural toolkits, and I made videos about that too. People who've moved up in class, particularly people who've had big class jumps, are found to be the most culturally savvy in their workplaces. However, people always ask me, what about people who go from being rich to being a lower class? They don't tend to be as culturally savvy. People who are from a wealthier background tend to not adapt the cultural norms of a lower class. They don't usually have to. Whoever is the privileged group sets the norms. And that's unfortunate because that means they don't learn the same skill sets. It is very hard to find a person who doesn't have privilege in some area of their life, whether that be being able-bodied or being a citizen in the country they live in. And this is why it's so important where in areas that you have privilege to still expand outside of your bubble so that you can learn more skills. Now here's the catchy part. People who transition classes when they are a child tend to do better at adapting to new environments than people who transition as adults. And most of the people I've talked to in my research, they've transitioned as adults. And that's a lot of the people who ask me for coaching, because it is not as easy after you've already had that childhood imprint on what your class culture is, because that tends to stick with you for the rest of your life, no matter how far you move up the social ladder. I've made videos on that too. You're not doomed though. It's just maybe more frustrating. The researchers argued that this basic capabilities that make class transitioners highly valuable because they are able to connect with so many people from so many walks of life with these relationships, then supporting a wide range of positive workplace behaviors. I would add, remember, workplace relationships extend also to who your client and customer base are as well. But these people need support. Being such an individual is far from easy. The authors urge managers to give them support. They believe that being able to understand people from various walks of life can be hugely important, yet also hugely exhausting. What's more, it can even isolate them socially. There's not many people for them to relate to. This is why I do workshops, speaking engagements, coaching, etc., because this is such a valuable, needed group, and oftentimes they're lonely at work. And they don't say it in this article, but being from a lower income background is also stigmatized. And they talk about negative outcomes that may prompt transitioners to hold back exercising their unique skills. The researchers hope that by drawing attention to the attributes of the people who have managed to climb the social ladder, it will prompt companies to appreciate and support these individuals more. Elite companies tend to hire people from privileged backgrounds, whether they mean to or not, and I hope this might shed some light on how they could negatively affect performance. The very first video I ever posted on TikTok was on how hiring managers now in 2024 are starting to not hire people from Ivy League universities as much anymore because they're not able to relate to people as much. They aren't able to work with people who are very different than them. Now, you might have some transitioners at Ivy Leagues, but it's far more rare. So keep that diverse applicant pool. Check your own biases, and you need some help looking into this, send me a message.